Okay, we are in Yaakov and we are in 32b3 in the Gemara Shabbos. So it says, "Ba'avon bit." We're continuing with the natural results of. Well, I'm not sure if they're natural, but the results of the sins. If we the meter connected meter, the measure for measure that Hashem does. If we as a people, this was a question you asked before the break. Okay, so I want to make this clear. It's not that if one person does this; it's if the majority of us cease to do this. So avon bitul truma ma'asrot. So for the sin of neglecting the truma and the meiser tithes, and he says the Torah commands the two tithes, namely the meiser and the portion known as truma, be separated from produce grown in the land of Israel. That's only in Israel. The truma is given to the Kohanim. One tithe is given to the Levium every year, and as for the other tithe, it is in some years taken to Yerushalayim and consumed there, other years given to the poor. Like I said, taxes. Okay, so what happens if we neglect that? Shamayim ne'etzarin melahorid talamata. The skies are withheld from precipitating dew and rain. Vayoker hova, and thus the high prices become the norm. V'hasachar avid, profit is lost. Why the profit lost? Because as prices go up for food, prices also go up for seed, and so on and so forth. In other words, the economy that never stays stable.
It's still the same today?
Correct. That is the truth. That's why when California is hit with an earthquake or some other natural, quote-unquote, natural disaster, prices shoot up. Yep. When the Valdez, Exxon Valdez went down, suddenly every single gas company decided to charge more money. Yeah. Why? If it would have been me, I would have cut my rates and put Exxon out of business. That's it. That's capitalism. So I don't know why they didn't do that. But no, they all want to, either they're all fed by the same thing. Sorry?
Greed?
No. That greed is greed. But I'm saying greed would have put the other guy out of business. But what I'm saying is that they may all be fed by the same oil, and so it doesn't really matter. You call it Exxon Valdez, but it could have really been everybody. Or they just have an unwritten rule: we don't want to put you out of business. We want you all to survive because we have a cartel. I'm not sure what the reason was, but everybody decided to jack their prices up. Okay, if the guy sneezes in what's his name? The guy who used to be Alan Greenspan, who I don't know what it is now, but the guy sneezes hip cups, so the prices go up, interest rates drop, or they go up, or whatever it's going to be. People do these things, but as a result, everybody is stuck. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everybody is stuck. So while the high prices become the norm, the profit is lost. Uvenei Adam Ratzin Acher and people race after their livelihood, but cannot attain one. Why? Shneimar says, Tsiya Gam Chom Yigzlu Mimei Shalik. The dry and the warm season steal the waters of the snowy season. Sha'ol Chatu, they have sinned to the depth. So we see that again. Mita connected mita is just a matter of if I do something, there's going to be a natural effect. Again, natural as in God, natural, and is going to make things happen. So he says, he explains, whereas the challah tithe is separated from a final man-made product, truma and meiser are taken from basically unprocessed grain and produce. The raw materials Hashem directly provides for mankind. Thus, the punishments for failing to separate the latter tithes affect that which God gives man directly, dew and rain. Direct gifts from God are withheld. Likewise, man fails to succeed in his business ventures, for success in earning a living also comes directly from Hashem. Although man may toil mightily in his chosen field of work, whether his efforts meet with success is entirely in Hashem's hands. I am constantly trying to get that across to people, that it doesn't matter how hard we work. We can work day and night and no problem, but nothing may come out of that. That's all from God. And when it doesn't happen, what we have to wonder is, why isn't it happening? It's not my mazal, because Amazal Israel. The constellations don't control Israel. So as long as we follow the mitzvot. I mean, if we don't follow the mitzvot, then we're left to the mazalot. But if we follow the mitzvot and assuming that a person is doing that, and he's doing all his efforts, he's trying to make money left and right, well, there's something wrong because God's withholding it. So what happened? When you had the taxes, when you had the Meiser and the Truma, when you had the Chala and so on and so forth, well, in his case, the Meiser and Truma, because it's from God. So did you give it or didn't you give it? Right? So I always said, when it comes to Meiser, the famous thing about Meiser, what we call Meiser Ksafim, giving you the 10%, the tithe of your money, 10% of your money. Well, if I give 10% of my money, what I'm supposed to give, I make 100,000. So now I have to give 10,000 to tzedakah, Zolan Zangers, and have a good time with it. Okay, if I decide, $10,000, I could do it $10,000. I could bury a person now. You have to be here for that one. Okay, but. Why could you do with $10,000? You could get a junker for your kids. You could do what you have to do for $10,000. So fix your house up. It's important. And so what happens is you say, and you hold it back. Yeah. You hold it back and you keep it. And so you give $5,000. Hashem says $5,000. That's all you gave. You gave I gave you $100,000, which meant I told you to spend $10,000 for my tzedakah. That's it. I told you to do that. You decided you're going to steal from me? You're not stealing from me. I'm going to reduce your income. You gave $5,000. That means you make how much next year?
95.
10%. 50,000.
Wait. Oh, because
you got a pay cut at $50,000. You decide to cut the poor.
What you gave should be 10%.
10%. So
you're
telling me you don't need. You're telling me you don't need $50,000. I'll cut you, no problem. I'll give it to somebody else who's going to do what I want. That's what happens. And then what happens next year? By the way, next year you have only $50,000. Now what happens? So now you say, okay, wow, at 5,000, I can't even give 5,000. You know what? I'll give 2,000. Oh, because it's 2,000. Tremendous. Save me money here. 20,000. And you're not getting it. You think, oh my God, what's going on? I'm losing my money. I can't give that much. I'll only give 100. 100,000. I'm in the poorhouse already. It's that simple. God says, Mida, can I give Mida? Do what I want, and this is what happens. Don't do what I want, this is what happens. Natural consequences. Again, natural godly consequences. But that's what's happening. Okay, so my mashal, how is this teaching indicated by the verse? So it says, Tana de Rabbi Yishmael. So a bright of the Academy of Rabbi Yishmael has taught. Because of the things that I, Hashem, commanded you are performed in the summer, namely the separation of teruma and tithes. So velo asitem, and you did not carry them out. The water of the snow will be stolen from you in the winter. And he says the literal translation of the verse is aridness and heat steal the waters of the snow. However, this homiletical interpretation relates tzia to tziveti, aridity to I commanded. And thus, the summer is when produce is harvested and processed, and the obligation of separating trumot and tithes take effect. So again, the same system. If you don't give to me, I'm going to withhold from you natural things. I'm going to withhold from you the winter snows. Now, if you think about it, we had since I've been here for 10 years, we've had interesting winters. Yeah. One winter we had, I remember in January, we had a thaw that was 50 degrees. It was beautiful. Yeah. You could walk around. You felt like summertime. And one of the rabbis said, if this is global warming, spray more aerosols. Let's go. Let's really warm the world up. Okay. Right. No, because it was warm. It was really warm here. But that winter, as a result of that winter, there was a nice drought in the summer, and farmers, of course, were affected by that. Also, a lot of mosquitoes were around because they didn't die. They didn't die that year. Then we had other winters where we had Arctic blasts coming through here, where it was, I mean, for me, I was in Canada for 2.5 years. That Arctic blast was like, really? That's all you can do? Come on, show me more. You're canceling school for this? It's ridiculous. What are you doing? I've had worse in Boston. I've had worse in Maine. I've had worse in other. And really, that kills you guys. Yeah, you're a bunch of wimps. Okay, but nonetheless, people were like that, and they were, it's below 15. 15 below. Yeah. Deal with it. It's a wind blast. Shkoyach. Weiter. Go on with life. I went out there. I shoveled without I was shoveling normally. What do I care? And everybody, you can't do it. Be quiet. I remember that day they canceled. That's the day where they had a meeting here.
Oh, they
had it every 10 people.
They shut the city down.
They shut the city. You couldn't drive.
Yeah.
Couldn't drive. And I was thinking, really? But a bunch of wimps. Okay. Nonetheless, that was another type of winter. Then we had winters that were just normal winters. And then you have the snow every single day.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the grass is green. Everything, and then the farmers are happy. So it all depends on what we're doing, right? That's what Hashem is saying. So, but the winter really is a harbinger of what's going to happen in the spring. Either I have a good wet ground, in other words, everything is worked properly, or not. So my summertime, shkoyach, see, the rain is here. Okay. I told you it's going to rain. I said I'm a better weatherman than everybody else. I think they said 10% chance. I was saying, no, look outside, you idiots. Okay. But that's what's going on. When we have the rain in its proper time. Now, this rain, by the way, if this would be in Israel, this would be a horrible rain.
What you mean at this rate?
At this time of year.
Oh.
It would be what?
A bad rain at
Why?
this type of year because they don't. This is the wrong time of year for it. They have a rainy season for a reason. That's when it's supposed to be. And when it's either before or after, it hurts the crops, apparently. So also here, I think that would probably hurt the crops. You can't get rid of if you're, right now you guys are harvesting, right? It's close to harvest? Planting now? Oh, then it's good for you.
Right. So,
okay.
But you don't want to, I think there's a problem with planting on relatively wet soil because the tractor
oh, there you go. So there's always problems. So it has to be in its proper time. And by the way, when is the proper time according to Rashi? Anybody know? Night. Why?
Because nobody's awake.
Correct. Everybody's asleep. So that's when Hashem gives it to you. And then in the morning you can go out and work. Oh, okay. There you go.
I hope the ceiling works better than the front door.
Baruch Hashem. If it rains, it only go over that one. So that's why I moved. Okay. And on the other hand, if the people do give Ma'aser and tithes is required, midbarchin, they will be blessed with plentiful rain and good crops. How do we know? Shneimar says in the posuk, says in the verse, Haviyu ekol ha'maseh kol el beit ha'otzer. Bring all the tithes into the storehouses, vihi terev bibeiti, so that they may be found in my house. In other words, those who serve me those who serve in the temple, the kohanim. Uvechanuni na bezod amar Hashem Sefakot, and test me now through this, said Hashem, Master of Legions. Im lo evtach lachem arubot hashamayim. If I will not open up the windows for the sky for you, varikoti lechem baracha, I believe die, and pour out the blessing for you without limit. This is one of the times that Hashem says, test me. Wow. I dare you. Give the money. Give the tithes. Give the meiser. Don't worry about it. Test me. That's what God's saying. Test me. There's one time we can test God. Normally we can't test God.
Test His will, or test His love, or test His vengeance. What are we testing?
Test His veracity.
What does that mean?
Truth.
All right.
Test His veracity.
Yeah, you can test on all sorts of levels.
Right. So we're not allowed to test on faith. We're not allowed to do that. We can't say, I'll do this on condition you do that. That's not a good situation. But when it comes to this, God says, when it comes to giving the tithes, again, why the tithes? Because I'm not getting any benefit from that money. I'm not investing that money. I'm not getting, that's the whole thing. I'm just giving my money away. Remember, I went and I farmed. I did it all. And then I have to give it away?
No.
You want me to give this away? Oh, what's your guarantee? So he says, go ahead, test me. Don't worry. You give it to me, I'll give you back plenty. Give me what I'm telling you to give me, I'll give you everything. No problem. You hold back from me, I'm going to hold back from you. Because that means you don't need it. You don't want my blessings. So either way, you're testing me. And I'll direct it. It's an amazing thing that Hashem is saying to us. So now it says, the verse said, ad bli die. Literally means until without limit, he's saying. Fine. My ad bli die. What does it mean without limit? So Amar Rami bar Rav Amar Rav. So Rami, the son of Rav, said the name of Rav, ad sheyivlu siftotechem ilomar die. We interpreted it homiletically to mean until your lips wear out, saying enough. You will receive such an abundance of blessing that you become weary from saying that the blessing is sufficient.
It's like the word Diana.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so he says you're going to become weary from doing that. She says the exposition, the words literally mean until there is not enough. The exposition, however, relates bali to the phonetically similar word bala, which means to wear out. Thus, the homiletic translation reads, until you wear out from saying enough. It is, this was one of Trump's campaign promises. You're gonna be a winner. You're gonna be tired of winning. That was one. Remember, he said that.
Yeah.
You'll be tired of winning. We'll be win so many times. You'll be tired of winning. That was one of his campaign promises.
What were we winning? I didn't pay attention back then.
The economy. Because you were always on the losing ends of the deal, he argued. So he said, if you elect me, we're winners. We're going to win again. We're going to be on the top, and you get so tired of winning. You're going to be tired of winning. He said. That's what he said. I remember that. Okay, but now it would be interesting if Jared Kushner knew this Gemara and said to his father-in-law, "Hey, Dad, I'm trying to try this line. It works. We're for God, run up to you." Right? But so now you know that all campaigns really come from the Torah. Okay. I told my son, everything comes from the Torah. There's nothing new under the sun. If you look long enough, you'll find every line here. Okay, so now next, Bavon Gazel Hagobai Ola, for the sin of robbery, locusts come forth to destroy the crops. And the Maharal explains, those who rob are guilty of pillaging other people's property, thus locusts will come and pillage their property. Okay, and consequently hunger comes about. Again, if the locusts are coming, then you're not going to have food. As a consequence of that, people will be driven to starvation. People driven by starvation will consume their own flesh, their own sons and daughters. Shneim, as it says Shimo Devar Hazeh. We're also going to say in this week's parsha. Kitavo, it says the people will eat the flesh. But Shimu Devar Hazeh Harob Habashan Shibahar Shomron Ha'oshko Dalim Artsusa Evyonim. Hear this thing, you cows of Bashan, you who dwell in the mountains of Samaria, you who oppress the poor, who crush the needy. And so what happens is Amarava Kigon Hani Nashe de Mechosa. This refers to the people like the women of Mechosa, the Achlan Velo Avdan, who eat prodigiously but do not work. She says in the verse, the prophet uses the phrase cows of Bashan to refer derisively to the wives of Israel's aristocracy, right? Who he condemns as materialistic oriented and as stealing from the poor. Rava makes an analogy to pampered women living in his own day, whose lifestyles are so extravagant that their husbands resort to theft to support them. Okay, there you go. Wow. Something's never changed. Okay. Uchtiv. By the way, that's really what happened. You have people who in this country, to use your son-in-law's words, people like to live above their means. Nobody wants to live within their means anymore. We all want to live outside our means.
Since credit became easy a long time ago.
Right. So everybody likes to live above their means.
After the Second World War, let's say, you're buying the houses in the suburbs, and all of a sudden everybody's got to have 2 cars and a bigger house, and it's a bar.
Really? After 48 people have 2 houses?
Yeah, the so-called the white flight to the suburbs after the Second World War.
Really?
Yeah, because I remember, I think in the 1950s, my father said, "Oh, so-and-so, they have 2 cars." I said, 2 cars? What does anybody need 2 cars for? That's crazy. What are you talking about, 2 cars?
That day the wife didn't, I guess she didn't work. I don't know. Today they all need two
No,
cars.
the women went to work,
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know it was in the 50s. Wow.
I think
Okay.
so.
I mean, we didn't have two. We never had two cars. We always had. My father would have his car, and then when he would get tired of it, he would put it on the grass.
I think
that's when we started to build up the cars.
How many ended up on the grass? That you
No, what happened was we were all becoming of driving age. Before we became driving age, so then my father would get a used car. He would turn in the car and trade up. I mean, trade across, whatever it was. But then he would give the car to them, and it would be a trade-off. But once he knew that we were going to come into the thing, so that's when he started to, when he got tired of the car, which he only bought the car for $1,000. My father never paid more than $1,000 for a car, and even to the end.
That's probably like 5,000 today.
I don't know. No, he would find the $1,000. It was somebody who wanted to get rid of a car, whatever it was.
Yeah.
He never drove a new car. It was always a junk box. So it's but he liked the junk box. It would have to be an 8-cylinder. That's what he wanted. The 8
Jeff's
cylinders.
father is always like that.
Yeah. So then he would take that car, and he would, when he got tired of it, or it was crashed, whatever. So he would put it on the grass, and then we would keep it going. We started up, blah blah blah, and then as we would get licenses, we would he would register it for us. But he said, everything's on you at this point. I'll get you registered, but insurance, you have to have money for insurance, gas, it's all on you. I'll pay tires. That was my father's thing. He never wanted us to go with bald tires because my cousin died in a car accident because of that. So he said, I'm not going to be responsible for that. He always made sure there was good tires. But really that's what it was. So we usually had one car on the grass until all of us were driving, and then there was no more cars on the grass.
Yeah.
How old was your cousin?
18.
He was driving.
He was driving a car. He was driving at 18. So it was a head-on collision. And so they want to blame it that there was ball tires, but who knows what it was. It was Hashem wanted them back in heaven. There was the head of it. But everybody likes to second guess it. So my father was saying, I'm not going to let you kids go on the road with bad tires. So okay, but that's how we had a car. That's when we had two cars. When it was like that. But when we're all driving, then we had 4 cars in the driveway.
Yeah. So my father we never drove. We never had a car. So we had a 1-car garage. So what that happened when I was 10 or 12, my brother was older already. So my mother went to work at that point. So my dad, with the extra money, he turned a 1-car garage into another bedroom for my brother. So we only had a 2-bedroom house.
Okay. Well, like I said, my point is people like to live above their means. So when you're living above your means, and now you have to figure out how to support that lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that's what that's why Rava was saying, you're causing your husbands to steal because women we're not going out to work.
Today people max out, get how many 4 or 5 credit cards, max them all out.
4 or 5, that's a lot of credit cards. Yeah. It's a lot of credit cards to max out. Okay. So now the Gemara, so the Brayta continues, says, Ksiv, and concerning such persons who are guilty of robbery, it's written, Hiketi edchem b'shidafon v'yerakon. I have stricken you with a blast and with mildew. Harbo kanotechem v'charmechem. The multitude of your gardens and your vineyards, ute'enchem, v'zeitechem, yochal hagazam, your fig trees and olive trees will be devoured by the gazam, which is a type of locust. He says, it's a type of locust, fine. Let's go on. Uchziv, and it's written, Yeter hagazam achal ha'arba, and that which the gazam is left over, the locust has eaten. So the gazam is one type, the arba is a different type. Yeter ha'arba achal ha'yelek, and again, once the arba finished, so now the yelek, another type of locust will take over. Yeter ha'yelek achal hechasil, once the yelek is finished, so now the chasil. You're seeing a beautiful thing about nature, though. That everybody has a pecking order.
Yeah.
Right? You one person finishes, the next person goes. They don't fight about it. Let's go. Okay. Everybody gets something.
For grazing animals, it's usually if you have more than one type of grazing animal, you usually have that in order. So like cows will eat parts of the grass, but not down to the very bottom.
Right.
Sheep will eat all the way down.
Okay.
This is where you got
Right.
out in the west, you got like actual fights, like gunfights over the shepherds and the cattle. Because the shepherds would go through and they tear up the ground and they have no grass even to the roots.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Cattle will come around and be, what did you do to our raising area? Oh, sheep.
Okay. There you go. So Steve and further written, Vayigzra al hayam v'roev, and he snatches up the right and is still hungry. V'yocha al smo v'al lo saveu, and he eats on the left and still is unsatisfied. Ish besar zero yochelu. Each one then eats the flesh of his arm. That's how hungry they're going to be. So he says, the verse describes a desperate state of starvation. Each person grabs food from the person to the right and to the left of him, and is still not satisfied. Finally, the hunger-crazed person begins to eat the flesh of his own arm. Our Brighter presents this verse as a picture of the period of starvation that will follow the devouring of the crops by locusts. The Gemara says, Al tikre besar zara'o. Do not read the words as is written, namely the flesh of his arm, but ella besar zara'o. Split the word up. Change the word zara'o to zara'o, and then you can read it as the flesh of his progeny, and thus we have the word where we're going to eat the flesh of the progeny. Okay, and he says the Braita relates the word zara'o, his arm, which is seen in the superfluous in the verse, because it just said he ate his meat, his flesh. So that's why they changed the phonetically similar zara'o, his progeny. Thus, this verse is the last link in the Braita's teaching, confirming that for the sin of robbery, people may suffer such overwhelming hunger that parents shall eat the flesh of their children.
So is it talking about like, is this like a large number of people doing this, and therefore it affects the whole community?
Because we're back to an individual crime versus a punishment for the community.
Correct. Yes. Everybody's not doing what they should be doing.
Okay.
And by the way, it's not hard to imagine. We don't. If you think about how much money that we spend in a 10-year period, a normal family, I'm not talking about somebody who's rich. I'm not talking about somebody who's poor. Normal family. In 10 years, you're spending over $1 million. Every 10 years, you're spending $1 million. And if people don't believe me,
That's with the family of 2 kids. You said a family of 4.
let's say 5. You're four easily. By the way, today, easily a family of 2, even
I don't
1,
think the average
3.
family earns $100,000.
What?
That would be $100,000 a year.
Well, I'm telling you, I don't care how much you earn. You're spending.
How can you spend it if you don't earn it?
Charge cards.
Charge
cards.
Yeah.
You're spending $1 million.
Yeah, okay.
You're spending $1 million. You're spending $1 million.
Building the credit.
Each. I'm telling you, and certainly with families with the young kids, because they're spending more because now they have the games that they have to buy. That's different prices. But I'm talking about just regular living expenses.
Cost of living. Yeah.
Cost of living over $1 million easily into every 10 years. And that's assuming prices don't go up or down.
Boy.
I'm going based on today's prices. But we're spending, and you get scared when you see that.
You know when
I don't know how the elderly are doing it anymore. Maybe they're not supporting a family of 5 anymore, I guess. But if you're supporting the family of, you're part of the 5 or 4, whatever it's going to be, and you're just spending because there's no tomorrow, then it's and you're living above your means. So if you live within your means, then you can't spend it.
I seem to remember when I was in high school reading that. Again, this is back 1960ish. Back then, they were trying to encourage, like they do all the time, for kids to go get for higher education. That somebody with a high school education would earn something. Again, this is 60 years ago.
Right.
Would earn something like in their lifetime, like $240,000, and if you get the college degree, it would boost your earnings up to $350 or something, $400, something like that. So that's it's a whole lot less than today. Of course, in terms of
today a brand new car is
inflation is so
a
much
brand
more.
new car today is $30,000.
A what?
Brand new car today is $30,000,
Yeah.
and that's a cheap car.
It's insane.
That's a cheap car.
Well, it's not insane. It's just that's what.
It is insane.
I just wonder how
college education today.
What does that compare to? Like in 1960.
But what I'm saying is the college career today at a state college is over $10,000.
Yeah.
Over
A year.
$10,000
A year.
a A year, over $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
So prices have gone up dramatically. So again, for the if I'm just going to college, I'm killing a lot of money, and I have to pay that bill. That's not just that's just one bill of my life.
Yep.
$10,000.
In 1960, I suspect that you could probably buy the Cadillac Fleetwood for probably $4 or $5 grand.
That was, whatever. But my point is, today we're all living. Everybody's living at a very high level.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that we're pushing out, and most people don't. I mean, if you look at most books out there, they'll tell you that people don't even have $100 savings. Not even $100 savings. They have nothing. They're broke.
Yep.
And most of them are broke. They're in debt. Okay, but that's all because of this mishigas, that we're not doing what we should be doing. That's all. But that's the entire society is like that, and so that's why everybody thinks it's normal. And that's another part. If I think it's normal, I'm not going to change it. Right? It's normal to live like this. It's normal to live from what my mother called from hand to mouth. It's normal.
Yeah.
No, it's not normal. That's so abnormal. It's not even funny. It's not even healthy. So bavon inoyadin. Now for the sins of delaying judgment or the inflicting judgment, v'ivut hadin, or intentionally perverting judgment, v'kilkul hadin, intentionally corrupting judgment through. Kilkul hadin, corrupting judgment through carelessness, uviltul Torah, and neglecting Torah study. Cherev uviza rava, the sword, the invasion and the plundering of the booty shall increase, plaguing the Jewish people with their presence. V'dev ba, and also pestilence and famine shall come. Uvnei adam ochlin ve'enin sveim. In addition, people will eat but will not be satisfied. By the way, this means I'll have food, I'll eat, but I just won't be satisfied by the food. As compared to V'yachalt v'tzavata v'rachta, Torah says, if you will eat it, you will be satisfied and you will bless. In other words, a little bit of eating, I'll be satisfied. That's a blessing, when I can eat something and be satisfied. For those who want the best example of you eat and aren't satisfied, Chinese food. The old joke about Chinese food is you eat it, an hour later you're hungry. Okay?
I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
When you went through this, you used the word judgment, and in my book, that word is justice. Who would be guilty of such a crime?
Which part?
Well, that part. Who would be guilty of delaying of justice, as it says in my book?
It could be all of us. It could be any. In other words, if I don't go to get the judgment adjudicated. I'm delaying justice. It could be the courts delaying justice. It could be the system allowing it. Like today in America, we said there's a backlog of cases. Why is there a backlog of cases? Because we don't want to deal with things, or because we drag it out because we're not. The justice system isn't working properly, either because of all the appeals, whatever. I'm not sure why it's so slow, but it's a very slow process. So you're delaying judgment.
Well, the process of there's a single word for putting justices in place is delayed all the time. For appointing judges,
Right.
They're just not done anymore. One party makes nominations, and the other party.
Oh, you mean for the Supreme Court?
Well,
That's the
any
Supreme
level,
Court.
any
No,
level.
the rest of nobody's really looking at the other judges. It's only the Supreme Court.
Like the appeals level.
People.
There's a big delay in appointing new judges. Yeah.
By the way, when we do that, when we the people allow that, we're delaying judgment.
Yeah.
And what should we say to? And why is that such a problem? By the way, when we don't have judges in place, so that
Congress is fighting with each other.
no. Besides, again, that's our fault.
Yeah.
That's our fault.
We're not
What I'm saying is,
demanding
why are we being punished for that?
Ah.
Why are we as the people being punished? Because if I slow down the justice system, then you can get away with it. And then you're going to take advantage of that.
Guys on death row for 20 years.
Whatever. Well, the guy on death row is, I'm not getting into death sentence. That's a different,
No, but I'm saying
that's a
putting
different
off
thing.
deciding what's,
Right, that's a different thing. But when it comes to somebody stealing from somebody else, well, I'll pull you to court. Go ahead. I know 5 years before they get me.
Yeah.
No. It should be instantaneous. That's why they're saying if you delay judgment. And again, when we're allowing our congressman or whoever's not doing their job, when we don't fire them right away, then we're held guilty for that. Yeah. And all these things happen. And so that would be delaying judgment. Either I don't push it, I don't try to make something happen, or I allow the system not to happen. So that's, again, when it's going on. That would be the whole thing.
Yeah, that's probably the argument that the Muslims make for Sharia. They want to say, now with our system, right now it's done. I mean, halakha is kind of like that too, I guess. But
Sharia would fail too if you don't have, I mean, I'm not sure what all this, let's look at the overall system, okay? Not particular laws of the system. Sharia, halakha, American law, any law. If I allow the system not to operate properly because I don't have enough judges in place, so then it doesn't matter.
Okay.
That's all. If I don't have the system in place, I don't care which law I pick on, which system I'm using, but I have to use some system. But if I don't have enough place for people to go to, and that was what Yitro said to Moshe. You're sitting the whole day. People are getting, the line isn't moving. Yeah. The line isn't moving because you have to listen to the cases. And you're only one person. You have to make a whole system here so that people don't become discouraged. If they become discouraged, they're going to realize it's not worth talking about, and they'll be ripped off. So you really have to make a system that's going to work. So I don't care if it's for the Muslims, for the Jews, or Christians, or who cares? Whatever system of law you're going to make it so that if something happens, I can immediately bring you to court, and immediately, or within a very short time, the case is adjudicated, and you have to go for it. Yeah.
Isn't it also in the 7 Noahide laws? They have to have a proper judgment.
Yeah, right. But again, the same sort of Noahide laws. What I'm saying is, I don't care which system we're looking at. It has to be a system that's going to work properly and effectively. Yes.
It's so important that not only the Jews have to do it, but all the non-Jews. Universal.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Universal law. Yeah. Right. 100%. But that's really what it has to be. It has to be, quick. Not that the judgment necessarily has to be quick. In other words, I have to know what I'm doing. Each case, I have to see as an individual case. So when you're coming before the court, this is very important. When you're coming before the court shouldn't say, I've heard this case, I've heard before. Okay, guilty. And no, but there's a new one here. No, forget, I've heard this before. And how many times do we do that? Somebody comes before us as parents, rabbis, whatever. And we heard the case, we've seen the case 1,000 times. So we immediately want to say, okay, this is what happened, leave me alone. And we'll judge. And so they'll say, no, you didn't listen to the case.
We've had plenty of instances in that room, in that lunch and learn class, where there are interpretations based on, but what if and what if.
Correct.
In those systems where justice, I'm going to use this word because I've heard it before, in those systems, ironically, where they practice swift justice, it's not necessarily fair justice.
Correct.
Is it?
No. Because you have to know, you have to look at the case. Fair justice, swift justice, means I'm listening to the case and I'm not going to be distracted by that, but I'm going to listen to all of the evidence. And after the evidence, I'm going to weigh it against what, in every case, by the way, there's your side, his side, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. Right. So you have to figure out what that truth is. That's really his job. Or their job. It's never one person. It has to be a tribunal of 3. So between the 3 of them having this talking back and forth, and they all know the halacha. It's not like the jury systems today, where the people who are coming in don't know American law. They know nothing about the law. All they did was they came in, they heard what people were saying, and they gave their feelings about do they think they're right and so on and so forth. That's the justice system today. It's what's it called? Justice by your peers, jury by peers, whatever it's called. Yeah. Okay, but it's not a smart system.
Jury nullification, they can decide.
No, but I'm saying, but when it's judged by your peers, it's judged by your peers. Right, so it's not the smartest system in the world.
A jury can decide.
Right, because
they don't like that law.
They don't like this, so it sounds good. Okay, whatever. What's the famous case? The football player, the black football player. Come on, driving the Bronco.
Oh, yeah.
Simpson, O.J. Simpson. In 5 minutes, he was let go. I mean, come on. The guy was guilty. The guy was guilty of sin. And they let him go. Oh, why? Because it was a white cop, and in previous case, it was let go. That's all. So it was revenge. But, okay. So he got away with 2 murders. Fine. But, of course, I'm judging the case on the internet here, but many years later. But it was so ridiculous that, in a half hour, that case dragged on for, I think, 6 months to a year
long time.
on TV.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And in a half hour, done. Okay. But that was judgment by peers. Imagine if that would have gone before 3 judges who know what the law is. Know what laws of evidence are. I don't have to say objection, Your Honor. None of this. Mr. Gosselin goes in. Just, what is it? Let's get the case. This is what the evidence was, either guilty or innocent. Okay? I have to have that ability. And that's, again, when you have judges who know what the law is and how the law works, that it can be a swift justice.
Well, but the law, unfortunately, needs only reasonable doubt.
Here,
And
right.
the fact that preposterous glove didn't fit was the reasonable doubt.
Right. If the glove don't fit, you must.
There were no facts involved.
Right.
The glove didn't fit.
Right.
That's justice.
Right. Okay. Like I said, I'm not. The system is a system, whether we like it or not. The system is a system. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Whatever. But that would be. But that is what they're talking about. You have to have the ability that if the case comes up, that you can hear it, and it shouldn't be that they're going to drag it 6 months, 2 years, 5 years down the line. That shouldn't be. Okay. So now let's just finish this part up. Okay. So it says, so the pestilence of him will come. Okay. And in addition, people will, v'achlan lachmam, right, so they'll eat, but they won't be satisfied. V'ochlan lachmam, the mishkal, and food will be in such short supply that they will eat their bread by weight. So he says, right, rationing. In the state of famine will prevail, women will pool their scant resources to bake bread in a single oven, but the loaves will crumble as they are baked, forcing the women to weigh the crumbs to divide them equally. And the Bright's teaching is primarily versed on 2 verses in Leviticus. Each element of the scribed punishment emerges from a distinct phrase. Okay, fine. Next. So he says, how do we know that? Because written in the Torah, I will bring upon you a sword, avenging the vengeance of the covenant. Ve'ein brit ela Torah, and we know that the word covenant refers only to Torah, is in this verse anyway. Shnei says, "V'imlo briti yomam v'layla," if not my covenant for day and night. And it says, "Uchtiv is further written, b'shivrei lachem matelechem v'yafu eser nashim." When I break for you the staff of bread, 10 women will bake your bread in one oven. Echtiv, and it's also written, all this ya'an v'yam v'shutai ma'asu, because they were revolted by my ordinances. So he explains that in the book of Jeremiah, there was a verse that said, the first one that we're talking about, Briti. I will bring upon them. That's what it must be. No, that's not. Oh, no. If not for my covenant, with day and night. So he says, in the simple meaning of the verse, Hashem comforts the Jewish people by telling that his covenant with the Jews is like his covenant with day and night. Just as the cycle of day and night shall never cease, so too God will never completely forsake the Jewish people. Never completely. He'll make us suffer a little bit because we didn't do a job, but he won't forsake us totally. Our writer, though, interprets the phrase homiletically. It sees the word yom v'layla, day and night, as reference to the Torah for a different use. For a different verse, uses this exact same terminology to start to say that Torah must be studied day and night. And again, the way to get that done is to say the Shema in the morning and the Shema at night. The cheapest way to get that mitzvah is to say the Shema in the morning when you wake up. Later, you wash your hands. But then at night, after the stars come out, fine, you fulfilled the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. It's not the best way to do it, but it gets the job done. If you're on the road and you couldn't crack the books at all, that's how you get it done. Okay.
What is that meaning? To say Shema twice a day satisfies what?
The mitzvah of learning Torah.
Well, all right.
So if you say it in the morning, I say it at night, that is the minimum that you can do, and you can get away with it. It's
3
done.
times is not a minimum? Twice? is the
Twice. Because it says in the morning, and it says in the Shema, uveshachbacha uvakumecha, when you lie down and when you rise up. And we have a mitzvah that you have to study Torah morning and night. So it wasn't the whole day. In other words, it should be our life. So, but the minimum is morning and night. So if I do it the first thing in the morning, and I do it then at night before I go to sleep, so I fulfill the mitzvah of Talmud Torah.
It also helps people who are shy. It also says on your going out and on your coming in. Well, on the days that you're homebound and you don't go out, you say it anyway. You don't.
Right. Because and then also and it says beitecha, when you're sitting in your house. When you're sitting in your house, you have to do it all the time. In other words, wherever I am, Torah should be the main thing. Wherever I am, Torah has to be the main thing. So when I'm in the workplace, and again, it works because the Torah is 630 commandments. No matter what I do, I'm doing something from Torah. How I speak, how I walk, how I talk. I said speak. Okay. How I eat. All these things are Torah. How I dress. Okay. How I go to the bathroom. What happens after I go to the bathroom? What brachas I have to say. So I'm literally a living Torah. We are all living Torahs. We're all living, walking, breathing Torahs.
I like what Rabbi Lynn does it when they went camping. They camped out over Shabbos. So whatever campsite, they put a string around representing
the Erev.
So they could carry stuff back and forth. So I realized, remember that I'm teaching my children by not even saying a word. We put this together.
But more than that, the world sees us, and when they see what we do when we walk around, and they know that we're Jewish. And we're walking around as proud Jews with tzitzis and so on and so forth. Whatever they see, we're literally living Torahs. And we represent God. We are the princes. We're the princes of this world because we walk around representing God. And that's what the speaker was getting across in Shabbos. The women are the princesses, we're the princes. Yeah. We slay the dragons and so on and so forth.
Fine. The business with the road?
What happens on Shabbos, I can't carry in a public... I can't carry from public to private domain. I can't carry anything from public to private domain. So if I want to carry, if I go camping, okay, and I have a trailer or I have a tent, and I want to carry something from my tent to the fire or whatever outside, so I have to enclose the area basically, and turn that whole thing into a private area. One way to do that is to erect a wall or boundaries that define the property within which I could carry from my trailer to the outside. So let's say I want to sit outside in the sun, I could take my chair from the trailer to the outside of the trailer, sit in the sun, and no problem. If I don't have that rope defining the boundaries, showing what's mine, turning that whole area into a private property, then I can't do that. I can't even carry out a paper clip. Not allowed to carry. That's one of the forbidden things. It's not one of work. It's just a matter of I can't take it from private to public or public to private. Not allowed to do it. Okay. So now Leviticus says, that was a verse that was saying that when I break for you the staff of bread, whom will bake the bread in one oven. The verse conveys the idea that Hashem will cause a great shortage of food. This will be accompanied by a shortage of firewood too, forcing 10 women to share a single oven in which to bake pitiful amounts of bread. The verse concludes by mentioning the other 2 punishments stated in the Braita. The women will bring back their bread by weight. Their loaves will crumble in the oven, forcing women to weigh the crumbs and divide them equally. The people will eat and will not be satisfied. Again, that's the biggest curse. And finally, it says, all because you revolted by my ordinances. The verse appears later in the later passage and gives the reason why the preceding curses came about. The word mishpatai, my ordinances, can also be interpreted as my judgments. Thus, the Braita sees in this an allusion to judges who corrupt justice and hand down faulty judgments. In addition, the Braita understands that these curses come about for neglecting Torah study, since this is mentioned within the passage as well. Now, again, if the judges are corrupting justice and we don't stop them, we are guilty. That's how we get involved. Okay? If we know that a person is not well learned, we should not appoint them as judges. In other words, why do some people appoint people as judges? Because they know them. It's called what it's called. Patronage?
Oh,
No, no.
patronage. Yeah, patronage
that's
position.
one way of doing. Where you put your family in there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
I'm not sure.
That's not patronage.
Nepotism. That's
Nepotism. If it's nepotism, if it's because in the Roman times, how did a Kohen become a Kohen? Kohen Gadol, how did he become a Kohen Gadol? He paid money to the Roman government.
Oh.
Okay, so he really wasn't a Kohen Gadol, but he paid for it. Okay, and so that's why they all were dying every Yom Kippur, because they weren't really supposed to be there. And so on and so forth. So we have people who are put into place because we think we can mold them into what we want. That's why it's so interesting when the judges are being appointed in the Supreme Court that you brought up. Depending on which party is putting them up, normally will tell you which bent they're going to go, right? Normally, if the Republican Party is going to put somebody up, normally they're going to be right wing. If it's the Democrat, normally they'll be left wing. Every once in a while, there's a mess up, and the Republican Party appoints somebody who's going to go to the left. It's never been, historically, it's never been that the Democratic have ever put in somebody who went right. That's just an interesting fact of life. But nonetheless, but that keeps the balance in the country. Okay, but you would think, now moving away from politics, you would think, wait a second, you're representing the law.
Yeah.
So what does it matter who appointed you? Either the law is this way or the law is that way. It shouldn't go by your particular bent. Your philosophical or philosophical bent, and yet we see that it does. So now we see that judgment is not really, it's not blind. The eyes are quite open, and they're looking to see who's willing to pay me more, if you will. What side am I going to benefit from? I mean, you have the case of the Affordable Care Act that went to the Supreme Court, right? It on its own merits. It should have failed. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. It should have failed. But what was it, Justice Roberts? That's on the swing vote? Okay.
Yeah, he said
Justice Roberts said what Obama was fighting constantly. This is not a tax. It's not a tax. And Justice Roberts said the government has the right to tax whatever it wants. It's a tax.
Obama said it was.
It's a tax. Oh, and what happened? Everybody said, okay, you say it's good, it's good. They won. But no, you didn't judge the case. You changed the case. You can't change the case. It's not your right as a judge to change the case. Yet there was a political agenda going on. And that's what I'm saying. That's what's going on. That's perverting judgment. That's intentionally, by the way, perverting judgment. And that's, hopefully we won't be dealing with those sins because it's really for the Jews than rather the whole world that we're dealing with. But that is something that you see that would be an example of where you intentionally pervert justice, where there wasn't the case at hand. Now, I'm not for or against. I'm not going to argue for or against the Affordable Care Act. But what I'm saying is that was the wrong way to do it. That was 100% the wrong way to do it. And yet that's what happened, and that's why it was allowed to stay. And to this very day, you can't change it because he was right. The government has the right to tax. We gave them that right. We're idiots.